I feel like, so with abortions, it causes a lot of psychological damage to the person that goes through it. It causes a lot of emotional damage. But it's crazy because, everyone has everything to say about it. You know what I mean? Like, everyone has, people that don't go through it have a lot to say about it. But the people that do actually go through abortions and psychological, like, they actually hurt and they actually go through a lot of trauma. And they need to hear people who are understanding, compassionate, but also they need people in their lives. They needed those boundaries before. With teenage pregnancies and abortions, had there been certain guidelines and had there been people around them that defined what the Creator says sex is to them, they wouldn't have fallen into that situation, Yeah. They wouldn't have had to compromise. They wouldn't have to go through the emotional damages. And the people that caused it are the people that are saying, oh, like pro-abortions and pro this and pro, but they're not the ones that are going through the experience, that are emotionally traumatized, that are damaged. They're not walking in that. So I feel like had the people that, would have helped these people truly been there, to guide their steps, they wouldn't have fallen to this. So, or had they known, or had they not been exposed to the sexual culture, they wouldn't have fallen to that point, they wouldn't have been led to that point.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Nathan, Robbie, anything to add on this?
Yeah, I think a lot, like you said, a lot could be said about the culture or the environment that children are growing up into that cause them to go down this route of promiscuity and all out just, finding, a lot of people say they're finding their freedom through sex, which I think when people use that language, they're just enabling addiction, honestly, because sex can be an addiction. Yep. But, half of all Americans grow up without a father, We know that fatherless women tend to be promiscuous. Fatherless boys tend to be promiscuous. The role of a father is to protect their daughter from boys entering into the house. You know what I mean? Managing her dating life if she has one at that age, and being there to shoo away wolves who are coming with bad intentions. And when people don't have that in their life, people are raised on a TV screen or on the iPad with no parental supervision. This is what happens. Yeah. And so there's not a contrast. They don't have a contrasting experience to know that this is wrong or right. This is just how life is, And so growing up, seeing that, can contribute to them thinking this is just normal. And I'm sure, a person who has had that background could hear a conversation like this and think, what we're talking is alien, but this is just what it means to be normal, what it means to have a normal sex life, And so, yeah, the environment, we're not speaking to how to fix these environments, how to address these environments.
Addressing it before it happens, Before it happens. But once it happens, not causing more damage, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Saying, don't do it, but instead, why? Like, you know what I mean? Or what caused this? Mm-hmm. Moving forward, how can we help you? Because what the act, once a woman aborts her baby, the act has already been done. But instead of saying, no, what you did was bad, kind of like, build a community around her to tell her that she is loved, that she is protected. You know what I mean? Yeah. That she is made in God's image. She's an image bearer, that God loves her. And that He has a plan and purpose for her, and that that you will be there for her also with whatever she needs, with the resources she needs, and that and then explain to her how damaging sex is, and that it led her to this point, and that she doesn't need it out of its bounds, kind of teach her that, and teach communities, teach children before it's too late, because right now what's happening is there's a society that is pushing the agenda, right? Pushing
the commercial aspect of abortion. We need to talk about that as well. As you say, there's people behind this, pushing on this thing, And there's a lot of industry working behind abortion. We need to know that as well. Definitely, as Robbie said, a girl, who've grown up in a dysfunctional family, maybe without a father. Imagine one of the causes of that is promiscuity. In babies born, unwanted babies born, and they grow up with single mom, and it's one feeding the other.
Right.
And a vicious cycle happening there. You also mentioned that the psychological impact that abortion would have on her life, and this is not just the regret in life. Many of them, when they were interviewed, they all, almost most of them have said that they have a regret in later life. And there's guilt associated with it too, and that has a
suicide too.
Suicide. Yeah, definitely suicide too. So it has so many consequence impact when it comes to abortion. But it is presented as if it is just removing some unwanted part, or for example, a cancer or a tissue, something that you can, an abnormal tissue that is in us removing. It's just like that. It's not killing. It's not killing. It's not murder. It's not but also,
I feel like
it also reduces the value we attach to life. When we start, to normalize abortion, then we start to normalize infanticide. When we normalize, then look at euthanasia, and taking away someone's life. That means the value we attach to life is being diminished. That's where it begins. If you value life, value the fetus. We value life. We value, we want to cherish life. If you want to cherish life, begin cherishing the life of the fetus. That's where it begins. Once you start, diminishing the value of a fetus, in by implication, that would now you chose to abort. But down the road, you'll be forced to do it. Imagine if you don't defend it right now.
So don't put yourself in that position.
Yes.
Like, don't allow yourself to have to deal with the consequences. Protect yourself, guard yourself.